Thank you for tuning in to this very tragic episode of Pro Wrestling Proverbs. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to us on iTunes in the podcast app. You can also follow us on Twitter at PW Proverbs. You can listen to us directly on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Pro Wrestling Proverbs. If you have a question or a comment that would like to be featured on the show, please send us an email at ProWrestlingProverbs@gmail.com. Before we get into the video today, I just want to apologize for the lack of Raw and SmackDown recaps. Unfortunately, there was a tragedy in my personal life these past couple weeks. I actually found out about it while recording the recap. Well, before we were about to start recording the recap a couple weeks ago on Tuesday, we found out about it, and so obviously I wasn't really capable of recording at the time. But thankfully Logan was able to record some material and content for you guys to get out, so we didn't go completely without. I was able to do a Superstar Shakeup video for you guys and be interested in that, and the funeral and the viewing and everything took place on Tuesday and Wednesday, and that's usually when we record the Raw and SmackDown recaps for the week. So unfortunately for these past 2 weeks we haven't been able to talk about Raw and SmackDown, but next week we definitely will be. There'll definitely be a Raw and SmackDown recap being put up on iTunes and the YouTube page and SoundCloud, along with a Greatest Royal Rumble preview and prediction show. And unfortunately we had of course, over this last week we had the death of Bruno Sammartino, which is what Logan is going to do here. I found out about that as well while I was at the service, so I wasn't able to be a part of this video or in this episode of PWP, but Logan thankfully has been doing everything he can to keep this ship going. He recorded a great video for you guys that we're about to listen to. So I'll catch you in the next one. He also has a couple other episodes that will probably be going up this weekend as well that we recorded that week, just to keep you guys entertained and informed for the next couple days until we get back into our regular routine of Raw and SmackDown recaps and a look at the Greatest Royal Rumble coming up.
Breaking news out of the wrestling world today, as legend to Pittsburgh as well as legend to the sport of professional wrestling, Bruno Sammartino is dead at the age of 82. Bruno began his career in 1959, but it wasn't until his time in Tri-State Wrestling, which was based out of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia, that his star began to shine. Bruno had legendary matches with the likes of Boba Brazil, Gorilla Monsoon, and Bill Watts. It was because of this exposure that he headed to Capital Wrestling, which would eventually become the WWF, and had a tag team with the legend Antonio Rocco. After some disagreements, he made his way to Canada, and while in Canada, beat NWA heavyweight champion Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. But he beat Buddy Rogers due to an accidental headbutt to Buddy Rogers' groin from an attempted leapfrog. Buddy Rogers could not get up, and Bruno won the match. Due to this way of winning, Bruno refused the championship title, something which showed how much of a babyface or good guy Bruno really was, a mantra that would follow him throughout his entire career. So the title win is not official under the NWA umbrella, but he did beat champion Buddy Rogers. He then made his way back to the WWF and on May 17th, 1963, defeated Buddy Rogers for the WWF Championship. This made Bruno Sammartino the second champion for this company, and he held it for 7 years, 8 months, and 1 day, having amazing matches with legends of the sport such as Killer Kowalski, Gene Kaninsky, Waldo Von Erich, the Big Cat Ernie Ladd, the Sheik, and George the Animal Steele, who would go on to become one of Bruno's biggest rivals and would put on some great matches with the Living Legend. Bruno would drop the championship on January 18th, 1971 to Ivan Koloff. Ivan Koloff defeated Bruno, and then Bruno would go on to wrestle in Los Angeles, participating in battle royals, until he was eventually brought back to the WWF and defeated Stan Stasiak for the championship on December 10th, 1973. He held this for 3 years, 4 months, and 20 days. So that is a combined 11 years and 21 days that Bruno Sammartino held the WWF Championship, a record that I am sure will stand the test of time. In this second run with the title, he had matches with the likes of Bruiser Brody, again Ernie Ladd, again legendary rival George Animal Steele, and superstar Billy Graham. It is Billy Graham who defeated Bruno Sammartino, and with this victory, this is when many wrestling historians say that the shift in wrestling went from pure amateur grappling to the entertainment that we see today. So Bruno helped pass the torch from one style of wrestling to the other in his loss to superstar Billy Graham. This loss took place on April 30th, 1977. After this loss, Bruno Sammartino went on a NWA-esque tour, having matches with heavyweight champion of the NWA, Harley Race, as well as some great matches with the Crippler, Ray Stevens, and Black Jack Mulligan. Returning back to the WWF, he entered into a feud in 1980 with his protege, Larry Zbyszko, over the mantra, the Living Legend. Larry Zbyszko talks highly of this feud in his WWE Hall of Fame speech. If you want to hear more about it, go listen to it from the mouth of the man who participated in it. This feud and the matches they had are highly acclaimed by not only wrestling fans, but wrestling reviewers such as Bill Apter. He had his first instance of retirement in 1981 and would remain a color commentator and an agent for the WWF until about 1984, when he came out of retirement and had two notable feuds with two of the largest stars that the company ever saw, Randy Savage and Roddy Piper. Randy Savage defended his Intercontinental title against Bruno Sammartino, and Roddy Piper had a war of words with the Living Legend. It is worth noting that when many superstars would fight Bruno, even at this point in his career, almost being in the industry for 30 years, he was so athletic and in such good shape that he would run circles around the younger talent, and many of them felt blown up midway through the match due to how athletic Bruno Sammartino truly was. His final WWF match took place against King Kong Bundy and One Man Gang, and how fitting that his tag team partner was the immortal Hulk Hogan. So in Bruno's final match, the man that built up the WWF and Capitol Wrestling would team with the man that is synonymous with wrestling today. Then he accepted a Hall of Fame induction into the WWE in 2013, an induction that is surely deserved. Nobody deserves it more than Bruno, whether it be for how long he was with the business, how long he had the championship title. Bruno was always atop of the mountain. Now, some say that Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair, even Randy Savage, Dusty Rhodes, they should be regarded as the greatest professional wrestler of all time. I think that Bruno Sammartino's name should be listed with this. Being entrusted with the heavyweight championship for as long as he was, and the matches that he put on with some of the legends of the sport, as I previously mentioned, the Buddy Rogers, the Harley Races, the George Steeles, the Ray Stevens, Ernie Ladds, Billy Grahams, the list just goes on and on and on. for just the amount of match quality Bruno put on. And then even being able to mix it up in the ring with some of the talent of the 80s, such as Savage and Hogan. Bruno was a mainstay in professional wrestling for well over 30 years. And it was with deep condolences here at PWP for the family of Bruno Sammartino that we say to Bruno Sammartino, rest in peace, living legend. If you want to stay up to date with all other wrestling news, whether it be sad events like this or perhaps events of the Superstar Shakeup that took place this week, or events leading into pay-per-views, make sure you follow us on our Twitter at PW Proverbs. Or if you want to keep listening to us but not necessarily on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and give us a like. We also have iTunes now, and we also have a SoundCloud at SoundCloud/ProWrestlingProverbs. If you want to find us on iTunes, just search Pro Wrestling Proverbs in the podcast area. And finally, do you have any memories of Bruno Sammartino? We realize a lot of the current fans might not, but maybe if we have any older fans out there, even ones that watched him fight Randy Savage, if you have any memories of Bruno, send us an email at ProWrestlingProverbs@gmail.com. Or if you have any questions about Bruno, maybe if the question is well enough and we can discuss it enough, it'll be on our next edition of Mark's Mailbag. Or if you just want to send in a comment about anything else in the wrestling world or a question about anything else in the wrestling world, make sure you send us an email at our Gmail. This has been Logan Keith with a special tribute to the living legend, Bruno Sammartino.